Everybody's ready. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, MJ Fitzpatrick.
So besides Paul, have any of you heard me speak before or know who I am or... No, stunned silence. So, my girlfriend has. Cool, so 2 people in the room. Alright, so I do 2 things with my time. I work with high achievers for a living and I help them make higher quality decisions. Right, so I work with business owners about how to think about the business better. I work with doctors, lawyers, NRL players trying to figure out how to take the next move, and I help them think about their life better so that they can either have a better relationship, a better quality of life, or a better business. So tactically, I can't stand here and tell you how to think about your business. I don't know if you should be posting on Facebook or on Instagram. I don't know if you should be posting on YouTube. That's not really my specialty. All right? What I can do though is help you think about your business in a better way. The other thing that I do with my time is I teach resilience for a living. So I go into some of the biggest companies in Australia and I teach their staff and their executives how to become a more resilient person. It's a very fun thing to do. And I also do a lot of work in schools. So I run something or co-run something called the Youth Resilience Project, and we go into schools and talk about what we should have been taught at school, because school's a little bit of a scam. And we try and work on teaching these kids the skills they're actually going to need. So tonight's talk is going to be a little bit different than most of the talks you probably hear from someone who looks and sounds like me. The first difference is you're going to have to do work while we're in here, right? Oh, look at that. No one smiled when I said that. Great. So most of the time when you come to a talk like this, maybe 20% of the room will take notes. The other 80% of the room won't really take notes and they'll kind of pay attention. The 20% of the people who take notes usually go and do something about it. The other 80%, it's usually gone out of your mind by the time you have your schooner at 3 Monkeys not far from here. Right? But we're all very busy people and time is the one resource we can't get back. So if you leave this talk and I haven't given you something to go and change your business or change your life, we've wasted each other's time. That means though that I need you to play with me. And there are going to be times when I'm going to be like, okay, cool, let's do an exercise. I want you to think about how you can implement this in your life. Now, if you just do that, that's all you have to do. Pay attention to my words, right? And actually do the exercises. I guarantee you'll leave here with a better way to think about your business. So, our talk's going to be in 2 parts. The first part is I'm just going to go through all of the concepts that I see people who are leaving their corporate job and starting their business that I work with, all the really successful business people that I work with who are making $50, $100, $200 million, companies, right, running property development, nutrition companies, and tell you the things that they are doing, which I think would be really helpful to all of you and would be really helpful to me if I had to learn them when I was first starting my business. And then the second part of that is I'm happy to just sit here and do as much Q&A as we possibly can, right? If you want to get up and talk to me about your business and you want some advice or if there's anything I can do for you in particular, I'm happy to do that. So I wanted to start tonight's talk with one of my favorite pictures. Even though I only discovered it today. Does anyone here know who the guy on the right is? Shaq is the correct response. Right, and then the guy on the left? Bill Gates. So the guy on the left is the richest man in the world, and the guy on the right is arguably the most dominant basketball player who's ever played. Now the reason I like this picture, is because if Bill Gates, who was a weedy 6'2" computer nerd, tried to compete with Shaq about absolutely anything in business, he would eat Shaq for breakfast, right? But if they were actually going to compete in business, Bill Gates would dominate Shaq. I think I meant to say that the other way around, right? Because in athletics, you have a physical sport, right? It actually depends so much on your genetics, it depends so much on your actual physical capabilities. But in business, it's purely a mental game. And if you want to get successful at your business, if you want to grow your business, the number one thing you have to do is get better as a person. If you want to grow a business and you don't want to improve as a person, that's like saying you want to be an athlete or you want to be a basketball player but you don't want to train. Right? The number one thing that you need to be working on to grow your business is getting better as a person. And what that means is thinking about your business in a different way. So, the way to do that is to learn how to command your mind. And I use that word in particular. Not how to get along with your mind, not how to be besties with your mind, how to command your mind. How to tell your brain we're going to do something and you actually go and do it. Because that's the secret, right? If you just did everything that you said you were going to do and you didn't procrastinate, you didn't spend any time on Snapchat, right? You'd have an amazing business. Because over enough time, you'd eventually break through and find what was going to work for you. Now, Can everybody in the world run $1 billion business? Yes. Probably not, right? Can everybody in the world build a business that's going to make $200,000 or $300,000 a year? Everyone in the world? I absolutely believe that. Right? I think it's insane for us all to stand here and think that we could all run $1 billion business, right? But that said, I think it's completely practical for every person in this room to make $100,000 a year easily doing a business that they love. Now, how do you know that you're doing a business that you love? If your work doesn't light you up and make you feel more energized, you're just in the wrong business. And that's binary, and that's very confronting to hear, but it's the truth. If you don't smile thinking about your product, if you don't smile thinking about your clients, if going to a huge day of work, you come home and you feel like you're drained rather than filled up, you're just flat out in the wrong business. Now, it doesn't mean you can't be successful there. You absolutely can be, but it means that you won't be fulfilled. So the secret to finding your passion in business is to find what follows you up. Sorry, what lights you up. What puts a smile on your face? Right? Just by thinking about it, you suddenly light up. Because I guarantee you, if you become an expert in that area, there are people in the world that would pay you $100,000 a year to learn about that from you. No matter what it is. From hair extensions, which is something I'm an expert on, right? To basketball, whatever it is. Okay? I know a good friend of mine who runs a business, he plays RuneScape. I don't know if you guys know what RuneScape is. It's basically the nerdiest computer game you could possibly play. And he makes like 50 or 60K a year playing RuneScape. He builds up accounts and he sells them to other people. And he just gets to play, he loves computer games. And he just gets to play computer games every single day. So my first question for all of you in here, if you haven't thought about what type of business that you want to run, the first metric is what type of business could I run which would light me up? What type of business could I run that just by smiling, I would think about it, right? The second I smile, I start thinking about my business. The second I'm thinking about my business, I start smiling. What we're really going to do over the next kind of 40 minutes that I speak is I'm just going to give you a lot of thinking tools that I wish I had when I first started my business. To give you all a bit of a background of what I did, I spent 6 months running my business in a market that didn't give it, am I allowed to swear? All right? Awesome. That didn't give a shit, right? And couldn't afford me. I spent 6 months trying to sell this material to university students, and it took me 6 months to realize that they didn't care and they just wanted to get loose and have fun and hook up, basically. Right? I would have saved myself a long time if I knew what was in this material, and I would have cut that 6 months out. All right? I then decided, all right, university students clearly don't care. Who would care about learning how to get better as a person? That was entrepreneurs. So I joined a Facebook group called Sydney Startups. I highly recommend it if any of you haven't joined it. There's about 5,000 people in it. I'm actually now banned. That's fine. Right? And I started giving value to that group. And I added all 5,000 people from that group. And I don't say that as a joke, I mean literally one by one, it took so long, right? 5,000 people as a group, and I emailed, so 3,000 people accepted my friend request, right, which was fine, that 2,000 people rejected me, it's okay, right? And then I emailed all 3,000 people, 40 a day, because any more than 40 in Facebook blocks your account, learned that the hard way, right? I emailed all 3,000 people offering them an hour of my time for free. About 3 people out of 40 would write back, and about 1 of them would actually show up. And I did that enough times that that's how I built my client base. And actually, the reason that I'm here speaking today is because of that. That's how Paul and I met, and that's how I ended up here. I literally emailed Paul out of the blue. Right? I was like, hey, you want an hour of your time? He came and saw me to speech, and here we are. So it's all capable to do this. You know, saying you don't have enough money, it actually doesn't matter in today's world. So, the first thing, and maybe the most important thing, and if you forget everything else that I'm about to say, this will probably be the single thing that changes your business, is focus. If you don't know what you want from your business, as a person, you're not going to get it. Now, what does that mean? Do you want to be running a business that makes $5 million a year, you have 5 to 10 staff, and you want to be in Sydney and you want to build something that means something to you? Meaning you want to manage people, you want to grow a culture. Do you want to make 120K a year, set up a corporation in the Canary Islands, pay no tax, and travel the world? Does it matter to you if you can leave your city? Right? When I first started my business, I couldn't leave Sydney, otherwise my business would die. I'm now shifting my business and I could leave Sydney and go anywhere in the world. How much money do you want to be making? How much time do you want to be working, and what type of work do you want to do? What we do this is we're defining your outcome, because this is the thing, it's your business. It can be whatever you want. Right? There are some people I know who work 3 or 4, there's actually a kid I know who's 17 years old and he's made $500,000 this year. He's 17 years old. When the new iPhone came out, you know how they took the headphone jack away? He built a case with an extra battery that also put a headphone jack back on the phone. And he sold enough of those in 6 months to make $500,000 a year. Right? Because he decided what he wanted to do. I want to make a buttload of money whilst I'm here at school, wasting time, because education is a scam. So, the first exercise I want for you all to do, and I will know if you're not doing it because you're staring at me, not typing or writing, I want you to write out, what do you want from your business? How much money do you want to earn as a person? What type of work do you want to be doing? Does it matter if you're location dependent? Do you want to just be in Sydney and have staff? Do you want to be able to travel all over the world? Do you want to have staff? Do you want to have a one-person band? Do you want to sell your company to someone else, make $10 million and retire at 30? So, if you don't think about these things, you have no chance of getting there. So, this is the first thing. We're going to take 3 minutes. Pull out your phone and write out, what do you want from your business? Now, someone tell me, and there is no right or wrong answer, right? Let's just guess as a group. Why did we do that exercise? Not a trick question. Yes. So you can just yell out, by the way.
To implement.
To implement? Yep.
Once to the universe and you mean it.
Yep. You manifest it. I love it. Yep. What else? So we can implement it. What else?
Yeah, because if it is all blur and you don't have like a guiding point or something, then
Yes. Bingo. Because we can reverse engineer it now. The reason you've just written that down is because now you can work backwards and you can figure out what you need to do this week to start building that business. The second reason that we do that exercise is so you can start saying no to things and stop wasting your time doing dumb shit which isn't going to get you where you want to go in your business. Right? The amount of people I sit down with where I audit what they're doing in a day and then we figure out where they want to go and like 80% of it isn't actually going to get them where they want to go is insane. Right? And this is the thing, you're going to have to be ruthless. I'll give you an example of this from my own life. A lot of times when I speak to people, they see me talk, they come up and they ask me, okay, when are you going to write a book? And I say, probably 2 or 3 years away. And they're stunned, like, why don't you do it now? You can self-publish, you can get it all. And I said, it doesn't make sense for me to do it now. Strategically, it's not where I want to go, so it's a no. So, you don't have to do this now, but at some point, your entire business will change. If you just sit down and go through your calendar and say, okay, what am I doing in my day? And is this going to get me towards that goal, yes or no? And if you just stop doing the shit that's a no, you'll start moving towards the goal. It's like, that's how easy it is. The other thing that you can do is like, hey, let's say you want to make $1 million a year, you want to be location independent so you can travel and you want to sell a service or product. Well, you can start working backwards. Okay, well, I need to figure out what the service or product is. It needs to be really good if I'm going to make $1 million a year. How can I start figuring this out? So you have clarity. As your wonderful colleague said, it's not murky anymore. The next thing that we need to do is to realize that business is about the exchange of value. And that sounds like it's the most obvious thing in the world, but I feel like everyone forgets it. The way to win in business is to give value without anything and any expectation of anything in return. And lots of people say that they do that, but if you put up a post on your Facebook and then down the bottom it's an amazing post on Facebook where you're giving value, and then down the bottom you say join my webinar, right? That's not giving, that's trading, right? You're saying here's some nice things and I'm going to take from you and you're going to come on my webinar, right? That's transactional. That's not building relationships. If you just build really high quality relationships, you're going to win. All right? The reason that Apple and Facebook and Google win is for a couple of reasons. One of them is because you love them. Think about how powerful it is when you say, I'm an Apple person. Think about that. Think about how incredible it is. You don't hear people saying, I'm a McDonald's person, right? Ooh, I don't do Hungry Jacks, I'm a McDonald's guy, right? You don't hear people saying that. But you hear people identifying. No, I like Snapchat more than Instagram. It's because these brands give you so much value that they change your life and you start identifying with them. The way to do this is to give value with no expectation of anything back in return. None. And again, this is how I ended up here tonight speaking to all of you. Right? Paul and I had a conversation, we had a second conversation, he ended up becoming a client of mine for a couple of months. And all because that initial conversation was, I'd love to help you out for free. You know, let me know. I promise I won't sell you. Right? No expectation of anything back in return, and it built a relationship. I just had a woman who last week signed up to a $5,000 program that I ran that I met 8 months ago. 8 months ago. We haven't spoken since, and it just gave us some value for free. She sent me an email and said, hey, let's catch up. You don't have to pay me anything. I'd love to sit down, build a relationship with you. I'll help you. She disappeared. I sent her one email 8 months later because I thought, hey, you might be a good fit for this program. Boom, like that. All because I gave nothing with any expectations and everything just to give and to help. Right? And in doing that, people think, okay, you're a good guy. I want to have a relationship with you rather than you're just trying to take money from me. So, the next thing that you need to do is you need to realize your business is not about you. Your business is about your clients. And you need to get addicted to meeting your clients' needs. So this is our next exercise, right? First thing to write down is who's your client. If you have more than one client, you have too many clients, right? Who is your ideal client? And how can you study them so that you can understand what they want? Just takes 2 minutes. Who's your client? Who are you trying to sell to? And where could you go to find out what they want so that you can meet their needs? 2 minutes. Who's your client? You can just make it up if you don't have one yet. And where could you go to learn about them and learn how to give them value? I want to give you all an example of how powerful this is. So whilst I was building this business, I ran a business in a gym where I worked as a personal trainer for 3 days a week. And I worked with mainly women because women are awesome and I much prefer looking at women than men. And because 80% of my clientele was female, I had to get to know and understand what women wanted from me really, really well. I got addicted to meeting their needs, not what I thought their needs were. So I had these conversations with women and eventually I realized there was this pattern, right? Basically 90% of the women between the ages of 20 and 35 that came to see me as a personal trainer wanted 4 things, and they were the same 4 things every time, right? They wanted a tight ass, they wanted a flat tummy, they wanted their back and their arms to be lean, and they wanted no cellulite on their thighs. That was it. Now, you can't see this, but about 50% of the women in the room just smiled when I said that, right? Think about what it would be like if you wanted to go and, I don't know, get your car fixed, and you showed up to the mechanic, and before you were out of the car, he or she had started telling you why you were here and how it could help. Because that's how much he's thought about, or she's thought about helping you. And that's the secret, right? It's to the point now where when an entrepreneur comes and sits down to me, I can generally predict the things that they're going to want from me, and they just sit back and they're like, oh my God, I'm home. And I'm like, yes you are, give me some money. Right? Because when you can think about and meet people's needs that deeply, right, everything changes. And sometimes you'll show people that they didn't even have this need until you pointed it out. Like none of one in here realized that we needed to have 10-second videos that we could send all the time, all day to our friends that disappeared in a day. But we get shown that feature because we're so addicted to communicating and connecting with the people around us that everything changed. The next thing that we have to do, and this is the one uncomfortable slide, I'm going to talk about it, it's very uncomfortable, but we have to get through it, is you're going to have to overcome your fear. Right? Now, what do human beings fear more than anything else? There's two things. The first is physical pain, right? Someone's going to come and punch you in the arm. And the second thing is rejection. Ooh, I love saying the word rejection in a room because it goes still. And I was like, all right? Now, we as a species fear rejection so much that if you scan someone's brain and make them watch a video where they get socially rejected, which I think is hilarious, by the way, watching videos where you get rejected, right? The same part of your brain where you feel physical pain will fire. That's how intense the fear of rejection is for everyone in this room, myself included. It triggers the same part of your brain that if I came up and punched you in the arm. So every time you're supposed to sell, every time you're supposed to go speak to a stranger, every time you're supposed to post on Facebook, every time you're supposed to write a business plan and you procrastinate because of fear. And you're fearful that someone's going to reject you. And if you want to run your own business, it's binary that you overcome that. You either overcome that or you go and work in corporate, which you shouldn't do. Corporate's the devil. Right? My slides are gone. That's it. Those are only options. Now, the other big fear which kills businesses, the first fear which kills businesses is the fear of rejection. The second fear that kills businesses is the fear of failure. Now, I want to give you all a tactic that you can use to get rid of the fear of failure out of your life. I want you to write down, I don't fear failure. Some of you are not writing this down. I want you to write down, I don't fear failure. I fear the consequences of failure. I don't fear failure. I fear the consequences of failure. When you say, I want to work on a fear of failure, you can't actually get better at that. Right? You can't get better at a fear of failure because it's not what you're actually scared of. You're scared that if you fail, something's going to happen. People are going to laugh at you. Generally, people are going to laugh at you. Right? You're going to lose a lot of money. Someone's going to punch you in the face, right? I don't know what it is, but that's what you're actually scared of. Most of the time it's that, I'm worried if I fail, everyone won't like me. Now, if that's your fear of failure, if you're worried that if you fail, people aren't going to like you or they're going to judge you, that is the best news ever. Because all you have to do to get over your fear of failure is keep going and asking people, hey, if I failed in my business, would you reject me? First person will say no, you'll still feel failure. Second, third, fourth. By the way, make sure you ask the right people this question, right? Because if you ask, are you going to reject me for a fear of failure, and they say yes, you're never going to get over the fear of failure. So be smart. Basically, just do it with these people in this room, and everyone be nice to each other. Your fear of failure will disappear because you've just pulled the rug out from it. Right? I fear failure because I'm worried I'm going to lose all my money. Okay, put some money aside where you can't touch it. There you go. Fear of failure is gone. It's actually that easy, but we have to be very, very clear. The second thing is, we need to talk about procrastination. Right? The reason you're procrastinating on anything that you're going to do, ever, the reason you're not overcoming your fears is because you have reasons to stay where you are that are stronger to grow. Let's say you need to start selling. You need to start cold calling. The reason you haven't picked up the phone is because you have reasons for not picking up the phone that are stronger than reasons to pick up the phone. Does everyone understand what I mean? That's it. There's never anything else, right? No one's ever put like a curse on you from Harry Potter and so you can't do it. Like that's the one reason. It's because you haven't found a reason more compelling than where you're currently staying. And this is called leverage. Leverage means finding reasons to do things which is so compelling that you move through your fear. And I have to create this in my own life. So when I was running two businesses, I sold the first business when I was only making $250 a week on the second business. Now, I don't recommend you do that. It's a bit of a dumb idea. But because I was only making $250 a week and my expenses were $700 a week, I had to go and make more money. Didn't care how scared I was, didn't care how fearful I was, I needed to eat food, and so I had to go and make money. And all that happened in that moment is that I found a reason that was so strong that I wasn't going to procrastinate anymore. Another example of this is, I have a client of mine who's running a very successful business and he needs to take it to the next level. Right? His business is going okay, he's got 2 staff, but he wants to really level it up. And he comes home at night after a long day and he sits on the couch in his undies and he just does nothing. Sits on YouTube. I was like, all right. So could we say that he's got a daughter on the way. She's, I think his wife's 4 or 5 months along. And I said, all right. Could we say that if you grow your business to the next level, what you're really doing is securing the future of your family? He said, yeah, I agree with that. I was like, cool. So when you come home from work, what are you doing when you procrastinate? It's like, well, first thing I do is I get in my undies. It's like, okay, thanks for telling me that. What do you do after that? All right? You don't do that for 2 hours. Right? Because I get in my undies and sit down and just watch YouTube. I was like, okay. So can you explain to me, when you get home, what are you making more important than the future security of your family? And he just stopped. And he's like, oh. It's like, yeah, I know. Tell me, what are you making more important than the security of your family? And he said, sitting on the couch and doing nothing in my undies. I said, yeah, why are you doing that? He said, I have no idea. And the next day, he stopped procrastinating. Now that lasted for 3 days, and then the old pattern came back, and you have to do it again. Right? It would be awesome if you're going to the gym, do 1 set of bench press or 1 set of squats, and you just leave, and your body's amazing. Right? That would make me so happy. Right? Unfortunately, that's not how it works. You have to do the work, and you have to condition it. So, I want you to pick something that you're procrastinating on. I want you to write down, what are you getting by procrastinating on? You're having fun with your friends, you're socializing, right? You're having a good time, you're eating good food. What are you getting by procrastinating? And then what are you avoiding by procrastinating? I'm avoiding dealing with my fears. I'm avoiding getting rejected. I'm avoiding talking to people, right? So first thing, what are you procrastinating on? Underneath that, what are you getting out of procrastinating? And then underneath that, what are you avoiding by procrastinating? So, the secret, and I just want to point out, what I'm about to teach you is a skill. You do it once, and you go crazy, and you don't procrastinate for like 14 hours. And then you start procrastinating again. Okay? It's a skill that you have to get better at over time. Don't think that you do this once and you're just magically in the clear. You have to keep doing it. But the secret is to find things that are really important to you and to show yourself that if you don't do this task, you're going to desecrate those things that are important to you. If you want to get these things, all you have to do is show your brain it's more painful to stay where you are than it is to do the activity. There's a very famous author from the 18th century who, whenever he got writer's block, he got his butler to take all of his clothes away from him and lock him in a room. So he was butt naked in front of the typewriter. And so his options were climb out the window naked, right, if you wanted to do something else, or write. Those were his 2 options. And he never had writer's block. Right, now that's obviously extreme, but I highly recommend you do that. That'd be awesome. I'd love to get that email. Right? The way that I use this is twofold. So I've got a very lovely grandmother who I've been telling since I was about 2 years old that I'm going to buy her a Porsche one day. She thinks I'm kidding. I am definitely not kidding. Right? I don't even actually think she could get in a Porsche anymore, but that's fine. Right? I could just sit in a front yard. Now, every time I think about procrastinating, I actually have a photo of a Porsche sitting on my desk. And I look at it, and I'm like, man, imagine if my grandma left this earth and she had never ridden in a Porsche before. What a stupid and inconsiderate grandson I would be. What a waste of space. I would regret that for the rest of my life. I say that to myself, and I don't go on Snapchat. Right? I stay in the moment and I keep working. A very, very famous example of this is when people say, well, I was lying down thinking about this new business and I thought, well, I'd rather do this and fail, and then I wouldn't regret it when I was 90, than actually try it, right? And who cares if it fails? I'd rather leave and try and start my own business than stay in my corporate job because I know I'd regret it for the rest of my life if I stayed. That is leverage. It's exactly what they're doing there. So that's a skill that you need to develop. Next thing, that's my favorite slide. I like this slide. Is take your ego out of your business. Right? What does that mean? Everything that you do in your business is an experiment. Right? everything you do in your business is an experiment. If you post on Facebook and no one likes it, you didn't make a mistake, you just ran a shitty experiment. All right? A really shitty experiment. If you come home at 4 a.m. one night because you met a cute boy in the cross, right? And then you come home and you wake up the next day and you only do 2 hours work, you didn't do anything wrong, you just built a really stupid experiment. All right? Every time you sit down complaining that no one likes your Facebook page, complaining that you can't find clients, complaining about anything in your business, you're losing. In that moment, you've become a loser instead of a winner. And what you're doing is you're putting your ego in something that's just not about you. If you accept that most of your ideas in your business are going to be wrong, and trust me, all of my ideas of business are wrong, and just make them less wrong over time, then suddenly you don't have your ego in it anymore, right? I'm up here speaking to all of you about business, and I spent the first 6 months of my business trying to sell something to people who didn't give a shit and didn't have enough money. Like, it wasn't even close. I made $165 in 6 months trying to sell to university students. And I probably spent about $4,000 on marketing, right? Because I was like, it's fine, but I didn't realize my ideas are probably going to be wrong. I just want to make them less wrong over time. And the way to do that is to build an experiment, right? So you didn't fail, your experiment failed, okay? So when I hear people complaining about their business or saying, oh, I'm not very good at public speaking, no, you just don't know how to run an experiment, which makes you good at public speaking. And if you separate yourself out of your business, where it's just experiments, it's not you, there's no way that you're going to get angry at yourself or beat yourself up. Right? If you complain when you think about your business as an experiment, it would be like having a roommate who is a social psychologist and they come home and they've been experimenting on mice all day. And they come home and they're like, you know what? The mice were real dicks today. They wouldn't go through the maze. They wouldn't eat the food. I was yelling at them. They wouldn't do it. They were a bunch of bastards. Now, what would you all think if you heard someone say that? It's not a rhetorical question, by the way. What would you think? They're fucking insane. What are you doing? Right? And yet we all do this in our business every single day. We're complaining about shit that isn't our fault. We just built a bad experiment. So just figure out what went wrong and build a better experiment next time. And your business is not about you. Your business is about your clients. If you get addicted, insanely addicted to meeting your clients' needs, you will have a business. Right? If you create something that lights up who you want to serve, you will have a business. Because people don't buy products, people buy feelings. Everything that you buy in your life, you buy because it makes you feel a certain way. All the way from McDonald's, right through to your $200 tights from Lululemon. Okay, and everything in between. And if you want to figure out how companies do this, every time from now on you buy something, every time you walk into a restaurant, every time you even think about purchasing something, just pay attention to what they're doing. Right? You will learn so much about business from going into restaurants and figuring out how they're selling you. Right? Because you'll start to see the things that they're doing. All right. The next slide is getting rid of what I call the 2 overs. And that's being overly analytical and overly critical of yourself. So, let's start with overanalyzing, because everyone does it. The way to make successful business decisions is a secret called ready, fire, aim. Ready, fire, aim. Have a vague idea of where you want to go, pull the trigger, and see if you kill the person or not. Right? Don't sit outside and try and pick your person for 14 friggin' hours and then not even shoot and leave and go home, which is what most people do. Right? You have to fire the gun to then get feedback about how far away you are. Most people think about what they want to do, analyze for 10 hours, and then not do it. But actually, you should think about what you want to do, and once you even just have a vague sense of what you want to do, just start doing it, see what happens. And then you get feedback, and then you can analyze. Right? Without feedback, and there's only 2 types of feedback in the world. Your own feedback, how you feel emotionally, or the feedback from the market, meaning people saying they do or do not want to buy your product. Without feedback, you're not inventing anything and nothing is happening. You just have a bunch of theories which are probably going to be wrong because most of our ideas are wrong anyway, myself included. Right? 6 months selling to people who just want to get alcohol. It's like, let's talk about resilience. No, I just want to drink goon. Okay. So, the second thing is to realize, even if you're analyzing, you just have to do it anyway. Right? And the second part of this is being overly critical of yourself. I want to point out why that damages people so much. You put up your post on Facebook, you only get 1 like. You're like, oh, I suck. Okay? That makes you feel horrible, which makes it less likely that you're going to post on Facebook the next time, which means you beat yourself up again, and you get even further away from doing what you need to do. It's one of the most absurd things I've ever seen, watching people beat themselves up. I'm like, how's this going for you? Just perpetually digging a deeper hole. Are you having fun yet? Right? Stop beating yourself up and just go for it. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to end up in corporate. It's the worst thing that's going to happen. Right? You're going to have to wear a suit to work. Of all the possible outcomes, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. You're just going to be sitting at a computer going like this. It's not the end of the world. It sucks, but it's fine. Just save up some money and try again. Right? If you build your business in the right way, don't even tell anyone about it. Right? Then no one will even know if it doesn't work. You don't have to put it on your resume. Just make up why you didn't have a job for 2 years. Right? I was traveling. So, this is maybe the slide I'm the most passionate about. I believe in this so strongly. If your product or service, without you asking to, without you asking your clients, if you sell them your product and service, and they don't refer their friends, without you asking to, your product isn't good enough. Right? It's a blanket statement, but it's the truth. If whatever you're selling doesn't make people refer their friends without you even asking to, you haven't provided a good enough experience. How this works in my own values, my number 1 value in my business is be a human first and a businessman second, which means actually give value and be a normal person, not try and steal money from every person I meet. And the second value of my company is create magic, right? Which is another word for saying create excellence. You want to obsess over your clients so much that they refer you like crazy. That's how you know you're doing these things. So, we have an exercise called the 5-star experience. What this means is, I want you to write down what would have to happen from the moment your client goes on your websites or you start having a conversation, whatever it is that you deliver, for them to have a 5-star experience. What would have to happen? So they walk in, let's say you were doing a gym. To have a 5-star experience, you walk in, Arnold Schwarzenegger's standing there, he's going to be your personal trainer, right? There's only you 2 in the gym, you've got it to yourselves, but actually walk through what's happening, and then that's what you have to start trying to create. So what are you selling? First thing to write down, and underneath that, how can I create a 5-star experience where I know every single person will refer to their friends? How I do this in my own business. The key way that I do this is that I communicate with my clients like crazy. Every client that I have goes into a WhatsApp group with all my other clients. And like, if you're ever going to coach groups of women, just a piece of advice, they're going to message a lot. Right? So every day I wake up to about 90 messages. I only had my phone off for about 8 hours. Right? But I'm communicating like crazy, and it makes them feel so safe to be around me that they want to refer me to all their friends. Same thing that I do with guys. I'm communicating all of the time. How are things going? Keeping you accountable because I know what they want from me. Because the first hour I spend with someone, all I'm doing is asking them questions to figure out what they want. And this is the secret. This question here. If you and I work together and I knock this out of the park so much that in 6 months' time you're talking about how I changed your life, what did I do? All of you should be asking your clients that. If we help you and we knock it out of the park so much that in 6 months you're still talking about how amazing this was, what have I done for you? And then here's the secret. Just do that. And then you win. So, the last slide before we go into Q&A, I think. Yes? Is you have to learn how to sell. If you want to run a business, then making money is like oxygen for your little organism. Right? The little baby that you have in your business, cash is the thing that makes it breathe. If there's no cash, your baby's not going to breathe. And not breathing for a baby is bad. Okay? Just in case none of you realize, the baby's going to die. Now the thing that stops you is selling. And it's uncomfortable. People are like, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson. I just want to help people. Shut up. You need to learn how to sell or you're going to go out of business. Now, eventually, you can reach a level where you can pay other people to sell, and that's great. But while you're an army of one, you're going to have to sell like crazy. And you need to be an excellent salesperson. An excellent salesperson. Right? You need to be ethical, but you need to go in hard for the close when you're around the right person. If you can't sell, your business is going to fail. That's it. There's no ifs or buts or what if I sell on the internet. Yeah, that's still selling. Right? You need to learn how to sell. How do you do that? Two secrets. The first is there's a guy called Grant Cardone. Right? G-R-A-N-T and then Cardone. Follow him on Facebook. He's got a book called Sell or Be Sold. It's the best book on sales I've ever read. He's hyper aggressive. Right? You probably only want to take about 15% of him and he'll teach you how to sell. The second thing is language. If you were trying to sell a product to people in France and you went over there and you expected all of them speaking English, unless you were American, right, you would be an idiot, right? Now, we don't realize that every single microculture you go into has a different language. How you are when you're with your girlfriends in Vegas, right, or the boys on rugby tour, versus how you are with your family at home is hopefully very different, right? The words you're using, what you're saying, the tone is very different. When you've had 15 rum and cokes with the guys at the club, right, and you're talking about whether or not to go to the casino, the words that you're saying in that moment are very different to the words that you say when you're with your 3-year-old nephew, right? That's how different we all do this. Everyone you speak to, you use a different set of language. And if you want to learn to sell like crazy, speak the language of your clients. Right? When I'm around my oldest client, she's 65, she's just been divorced and she's ready to go crazy. Right? Kids are out of the house, she's ready to go. I don't speak to her the same way as I speak to my youngest client, who's 18, basically just wants to learn how to talk to girls. Right? I don't speak to them the same. It would be ridiculous of me to do that. So learn how to speak the language of your clients. And then the second or the third part is learn how to hold the tension. Every single time from now on that you're in a conversation, except for if you're in a conversation with me, because it gets awkward if you do this, right? You need to learn to hold the tension. When there's a silence and you're trying to sell someone, don't talk first. Don't talk first. Because if there's a silence in a conversation and you rush in to fill it, what does someone think? Someone yell out, what do you think?
Desperation.
They're nervous? They're desperate?
Yeah.
They're scared? Now, if you're trying to sell someone and they think you're nervous, desperate, or scared, how's that going to go? Not good. You need to learn to hold attention. Now, to give you an example of how insane this is, I sell a lot of people on the phone. When I finish saying my price, right, I press the mute button on my phone so I can keep talking and they can't hear me. Right? That's how intense I want to hold attention. And there have been times, and I just play a game with myself where I just count the seconds on the phone, where someone didn't speak for 45 seconds. Right? We were on the phone, we just didn't speak for 45 seconds. That was it. Because I was holding attention. And if I spoke first, I'm projecting that I don't feel comfortable in what I'm saying, so I need to fill the space. Right? You need to learn to hold attention. The longest I've held attention for was I sent someone a message in the morning, they said they'd get back to me, and I waited 12 hours while I was waiting for them to message me. But I had to hold attention. Right? And this is how you close. I'll give you my sales pitch. I say, I would love to keep working with you. My rate is X amount of dollars per hour. If we work together, I can help you with these things. If not, I'm a big boy and I understand. And I shut up. Now, you need to say the part where you say, I'm a big boy. Now, if you're a woman, don't say you're a big boy. Say you're a big woman. Right? But when you say that, it takes all of the pressure off the sales call and you actually give them a chance to make a decision. And you shut up and you don't talk again. I once held eye contact with a guy for 15 seconds as he was making his decision. Think about that. When's the last time you stared into someone's eyes for 15 seconds? Right? It's a bit weird, but whatever. Right? Because I needed to hold my space, and then he said yes. If I hadn't spoken in that space, he definitely wouldn't have said yes. Because I'm projecting, I'm not confident in what I'm saying. So, the second last slide. I want you to write the 5 biggest takeaways that you've had from today's talk and what you're going to do about those takeaways. Just take 3 minutes. What are your 5 biggest takeaways And what are you going to do about those takeaways? And then if you want to be really smart, you should pull out your calendar and schedule in time tomorrow to do those things. What are your 5 biggest takeaways? What are you going to do because of those takeaways? And then if you want to be really fancy, pull out your phone and put a reminder in your phone to do them. All right. 2 more slides till we get to Q&A. So, I haven't done a speech like this for a while actually, and at the end of every one of my speeches, I always offer the audience a gift. And if you've listened to this speech, you know it's because I actually want to build a relationship with all of you, because I have no idea where we're both going to be in the future, and I want to see if we can help each other. So, I'm more than happy to spend, it used to be an hour, but very busy these days. I'm more than happy to spend half an hour with any of you to talk about your business for free. I don't even have anything to sell you into, right? I won't sell you. All you need to do is send me an email, mj@mjfitzpatrick.com. I'll send you back a booking link. My office is in the Rocks. Come and spend half an hour and I'll literally work with you one-on-one in your business. Now, why am I doing that? Number 1, I was raised to be a good boy, right? But number 2 is who knows where the 2 of us are going to be in 10 years' time, but I want to build a relationship with you because I think getting to know people is how you win. And the best way that I can build a relationship with any of you is to just give you some of my time for free. So, literally, just send me an email, you don't have to pay me any money, and I'll spend half an hour with you and we can talk about as much of your business as you like. My office is 15 minutes away, and I don't hopefully you can tell by now that I don't screw around. I'm not going to waste your time, and I will give you as much value as I can. Feel free to send me an email about your business before we meet, and I'll write some notes and just run through things as fast as I can. So, mj@mjfitzpatrick.com. All right. So that's the end of me yapping. I've got a 7:30 meeting I'm happy to be a little bit late for. So if any of you have any questions, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'll jet. Yes?